So I don't want to dive into like a super deep discussion of it. Maybe we can do that later. But I was listening to this interesting report last week where teenagers are showing up in the ER at record numbers with THC poisoning. It's actually pretty insane.
You're trying to say it's not grandpa's pot?
Ooh, where'd you pull that from? Because that's kind of like what the because that's kind of like what the statement in the report was about. Did you and I listen to the same report?
No, I just have a global opinion that is wise.
To summarize the report very quickly, they said what is turning out is that there are lots of teenagers who are getting access to pot, and the problem is just like what you said. It's not your grandpa's pot because back in the day they were just growing it like normal. Well, now in the current era, they have been oh geez, because they've been crossbreeding things and creating different strains. The THC content in pot has gone up significantly, and the CBD content in it has gone down significantly. And it was the CBD content that would offset the THC content, and so and so that would make it less less addictive, and B, less potent. And some of the difficulties that people are starting to see is THC is fat soluble. So when you start smoking it, it will go into your fat and be stored in your fat. And then what ends up happening is, if you like, the more and more that you continue to do that, to smoke, the more THC gets stored into your fat, and then at some point your body starts burning that fat, and your THC levels in your in your bloodstream, because it does stick around a little bit in your bloodstream. When you start burning that fat, and the fat with the THC in it just like pumps a huge amount of THC into your blood, and then you get THC poisoning. Well, teenagers being teenagers, they don't know or fully understand all of this stuff, or they just don't care. I'm going with they don't care, because I was a teenager once myself.
Yeah, I remember jumping off things and yeah.
Yeah, especially teenage boys. um, so that's why you have a jump in teenagers who are um, going mm, um, going to the ER with THC poisoning. And one of the big things that they were saying about it too is one of the arguments for legalizing it was that you get to regulate the THC content, or you get to regulate it in general. Well, there are only 2 states in the US that actually regulate the THC content. Everybody else doesn't care.
Oh, you know what? Science sucks. I was so much happier when I could just smoke all the pot I wanted, and not, I say that I don't smoke pot. But not that I.
Have you ever?
Well, let's. I didn't inhale. I didn't inhale. Isn't that what Bill said?
No, 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 no. I think it was somebody else. But it is, I think you're right. Whatever. Moving on. Continue.
Yeah, you're mixing up the whole other thing.
I'm mixing up a lot of things right now.
So yeah, no, but the yeah, I think the big problem is the those healthy components of it are inversely proportional to the THC, and you're just what's the point in smoking it if you're not getting the good stuff out of it? Um, I don't have a good argument for just doing synthesized drugs.
Mhm. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I've never done it. I've been around people who have, and I have friends who do it and everything. And it's like, I really have no, I have no animosity towards them. I don't really care. It's their choice. They're adults. They can make that choice themselves. Uh, I don't want to do it. I really don't like it. as far like so there's there are certain over-the-counter drugs that I have taken where I have gotten like that weird high feeling, and I just do not like that feeling. So I'm like, nope, not doing. I'm not gonna expose myself to any of that stuff.
I'm so old fashioned. I just like some bourbon or maybe another nice alcohol. I don't like getting drunk. Um, I'm happy with the buzz, but
Yeah, I absolutely refuse to get drunk, and the main reason I refuse to get drunk is I have discovered that I am a sleepy drunk. Yeah, yeah, like I'm a sleepy drunk.
it's like, all right, under the table.
So, like, what I tell all my friends, and this is like part of the reason, the main reason why you won't see me, like, you won't see me drunk at parties is because I don't like being drunk, and I don't want crazy stories about me and losing control because I have had those and I don't like it. Um, but the whole thing is like I tell my friends, I'm like, you won't see me drunk at a party because I'm a sleepy drunk, and because I'm sleepy drunk, it means that I'm going to fall asleep. I'm going to pass out at the party, and that just defeats the purpose of being at the party.
Right? That doesn't sound fun.
Exactly. So it's like I'm not doing that. That's dumb of me.
You should know yourself when you're doing drugs. I think you should know yourself. My opinion is that they should have like a drug camp for the kids and the parents to go when they're young, and to go and educate about it, see what it is, get the informed process on it. They used to have Dare when I was a kid. How did we got all the way down this lane?
Because we were talking about you were a guy, or you're talking about a company about getting stuff to you because you're having, oh my gosh, my dog just like shifted my desk and like my whole video jumped around.
She's huge.
She's so big and she does not care.
Right.
Yeah, we were talking about a guy, which got me thinking about organized crime, which reminded me of what my stepdad does, which also reminded me of, hey, this is what happens when you make things illegal. You push it to organized crime, and then that makes me think. It made me think about the THC stuff because they were one of the complaints about drugs and such is right now that people like constantly argue about is that because it's illegal, it's being pushed to organized crime. And it's like, well, but even if you legalize it, and one another argument for legalizing it, drugs and stuff, is the regulation aspect of it, but nobody regulates it, as proven by that report that I was talking about with people going to THC. So then we were just talking about how we just don't do drugs.
Right. And from there, we're going to totally mess up your mind mapping software by jumping into extreme leadership.
Well, about that, the chapter that we're talking about is believe, which, to sum it all up, is basically that leaders need to believe in the mission of the company, or if you're in the military, the mission of the mission. The purpose really is what you're trying to get at, or what I'm trying to get at. And you could kind of look at it. Let me see if I can connect these. I'm having trouble. There is no connection. Let's just dive in.
No, I mean there's the if when you the a lot of people want to legalize pot for the control of it,
Yes.
right? To increase
Yes.
the control.
I have like this.
You have to take quite a bit of a belief that you can control human nature on either side of that argument,
It's
right?
true.
So when you're talking about it with the state and how to legalize it properly, I think you need to have people really accept that mission. Otherwise, it happens like they're not enforcing THC levels.
Hmm.
And why did they do that? Well, because they probably legalized it
How
and
dare
without
you?
believing in it.
How dare you? I thought you put
I
everything
had it
on.
on Do Not Disturb.
I think alarms go past a do not disturb.
I guess they do.
Whatever.
Um,
How dare you?
Terrible citizen. So yeah, there it is. Ripped away my thought.
Well,
But I think they didn't. A lot of times it just shows they don't really accept what they're selling,
Yeah.
what they're promoting. They just, you can maybe see their real values.
Yeah. A lot of it to me is also you need a society that well what we can kind of connect it, a society that believes in the same type of mission of society, believes in kind of like the same push for what a society wants, which is part of the reason why I think federalism is a very powerful tool for large countries like the United States. Um, it basically, California can be California, okay, and Texas can be Texas. Like that's federalism. Or take it actually to take a better example, California can be California and Florida can be Florida. All right. Like that's what federalism's all about. And you need a society that believes in that view of federalism to be able to continue to work towards that. And so taking that into account, like legalizing drugs, you need people, in my view, and right or wrong, you kind of need a society that believes in personal responsibility, because it needs you need you if you want to legalize drugs and you want to legalize everything, then you need people who are going to take a good amount of responsibility with the drugs themselves, such as not driving high or not driving under the influence of certain illicit drugs. I mean, so like that's what you need. And because we don't have that type of a homogenous society, I would say there's a strong argument for keeping them illegal, because the danger at that point is, well, um, you don't have people who don't believe in, basically, I guess what I'm saying is you have people who are going to get high and going to drive. Well, when you start doing that, you immediately present a danger to other people. Your freedoms now are impinging upon other people's freedoms. Impinging is probably a bad word, but infringing. There we go. Infringing upon other people's freedoms. That's like I'm a firm believer in my freedoms and at my fingertips, like my freedoms end at my fingertips. It's an abstract way of saying it, but it's essentially that, like, as soon as my actions start affecting you in certain ways, then I need to take responsibility and stop those actions. There are certain things that we could get into a bunch of arguments and stuff about, but anyway.
Well, yeah, you know what? We can have fun. I'll play devil's advocate with you on that one day. Not today, because that would become this will become a whole call.
Boy. One day, not today, please. Well, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that I think that would be a fun conversation for us to have if we could, like play devil's advocate about it and tease it out a bit more, because it's a good conversation for everybody. But like, let's get back to the book. 20 minutes, 20 minutes. I don't know if this whole thing's going to make it into the. Well, it'll definitely make it into the uncut. It's going to be in the uncut. Speaking of, I need to touch base with you about something after this, when we get done. All right. So chapter 3, believe. So Jocko starts all of this off with an anecdote about him sitting in his office, and he receives a directive from his higher ups, where talking about, all right, you cannot your missions will not be approved unless your missions include a certain number of Iraqi soldiers. And Jocko is like freaking out about this. He's like, this is bad. This is terrible. This is a horrible idea, because it's going to get my guys killed. And it's like, well, yeah, because they're highly untrained, like highly untrained.
It sounds funny. You can have a highly untrained individual, but in comparison, it's a perfect way to say it. I mean, these guys have like bled together and really trained their like to the highest level. I mean, there's not you could not train more than these guys. I think.
They spent so okay. I watched the first episode of The Terminal List last week on Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, go watch that show. It is phenomenal. Oh my gosh.
Terminal list.
Yeah, The Terminal List. Go watch it. It is not for kids though. the, it it gets it gets brutal. But it is phenomenal. Holy cow, is it good? But there's a scene in which the reporter is talking to the main character. The main character is played by Chris Pratt, and the reporter is telling, and Chris Pratt is a Navy SEAL, playing a Navy SEAL. The reporter is talking to him, saying, well, you've been doing 6-month rotations. You've been back in the States doing 6 months of training and then 6 months in theater, which means, like where they're operating and everything, Middle East in this case. And so they've been rotating back and forth. So the reason I bring this up is that's exactly right. And it talks to what Phil was saying, where these are teams that play, like they train together constantly. When they leave the theater, they come back to the US, they're training. Like that's what they do. That's their job. And then when they go into theater, then they're still training. They're still working on things and things, stuff like that. So they know each other really well, and they know each other's tendencies and personalities, and they know how to communicate with each other in many different ways, things like that. Like
They're like ninjas. What I was saying is like they're just really well trained. And then you have these other guys that probably don't know how to tie their shoelaces.
Oh, dude, Jocko talks about how in the book, they don't even know how to do a pull up. Like, it's like that. That's the level of incompetency, I guess.
Physical dysfunction.
Yeah. And they talk about, and he talks about how some of the Iraqi soldiers, as soon as they get faced with a firefight, they immediately turn tail, run, and as they're running, they point their gun behind them and fire.
I would struggle in that scenario to maintain my appearance of sanity.
Oh, from what I remember, he was saying, yeah, they often had to catch these guys, strip them of their gun, and essentially knock them unconscious. Yeah. So anyway, so he's freaking out about all this stuff, and he's like, "What? WTF? All right, like, what's going on?" And he sits there, and he's, yeah, you caught.
You said WTF.
I did. I'm trying to be good. Did you get your swear jar, by the way?
I forgot it, but I'm going to be civilized today. I'm sure of it.
Oh, please. I think we've broken that. We are not civilized.
But I like that you look civilized.
I try, but I mean, look at my background. Like, my office is a wreck.
It is a bit of a wreck. I'm trying to figure out, is that a mattress or a wall?
No, it's a sheet. It's one of those backdrops that you put up so that you can look professional. It's because I'm doing some recordings and stuff, and they're for the course, and I don't want my office.
Your library distractions.
Yeah, it's just bad. Or it's just a wreck. As soon as I move in, not as soon, but when I move into my new place, I'm going to really sit down and take a stock of my office and think about how to set it up properly so that it's good for recording. I'm looking forward to it. 2 more months. Oh my gosh, 2 more months. Yay. Anyway, so Jocko's sitting there and he's figuring out what the heck is going on. Why do they want this? Why is what he's asking.
Like, why are they trying to murder us?
Exactly. That was the thought. And he ended up realizing, well, wait a second. We're not going to be here forever. We can't be here forever. We were there for almost 20 years. Almost. We got out of Iraq before we got out of Afghanistan. And yeah, anyway, we're still in Germany, by the way.
I thought we still had a presence there in Iraq.
We have probably a small.
Not kind of, like, I mean, I guess we technically still have a presence in Afghanistan. I understand there's thousands of people not evacuated.
Yeah, about that.
Oh, some mass graves. I don't know what that was about.
About that. There's some horrible stuff going on. Um, I mean, we still have a presence in Germany, and that war ended how long ago? And we still have a presence. We still have a presence in Japan, and there are two reasons for that. But we have. I was not going there, but you're right, actually. um,
I meant breakfast, not brothels. What's that? Bresta, right? That's what I meant. The sandwiches with the German breakfast, the German breakfast sandwiches with the bread and the meat and stuff. No, it's yeah, probably it is brothels.
I should know this. Brochen.
Brochen. There it is. That's the two reasons to stay.
Sure. Yeah, honestly, anyway. So he's like, well, wait a second. We can't be here forever. And how are these guys going to get trained? And he's like, oh, that's why. And so once he figured that out, he was able to sit there and believe in the mission. Like, I get the title believe, I get it, but at the same time I'm like, whatever. Take it or leave it as far as the title. But like that's kind of the whole idea of the the chapter is basically
Sometimes you have to bullshit yourself a little bit into understanding the mission.
yes. Yes. Yeah. I don't do you feel like he bullshitted himself?
Yeah, yeah. I think he totally bullshitted himself. He didn't believe that at all. But if he didn't do that, and if it is obvious that he didn't like it, there's no way he could have got his guys to go with it. So even if they called bullshit on him, it's still accepted as we're doing it because I said so. And yeah, I do have enough reason to psych myself out enough to try it at least. Yeah, I think that was good. Later on, he got a little better grasp of it when he said, "You know what? We are going to do this, and we're going to make it so that they can take over themselves, which means we have to go take the fight to the enemy and rip out their every little hiding place with shrapnel and stuff.
I like how you ended
Napalm.
that. Napalm is banned under the Geneva Convention, all right?
Sure, but gasoline's not.
That is true. Uh,
I'm not. I know they didn't do that. That was a joke.
I know. Dude, napalm.
Yeah, napalm's sticky.
Napalm's horrible.
Napalm's scary.
It's actually kind of interesting to think about that. We have so many warfighters now that are very well versed in A, urban combat, and then B, desert combat now. If we have to end up in an area of jungle combat again, do we have that expertise available to us still?
That's easy enough. So you never end up fighting the last battle, but you always train on it, and that's okay. Um, I think what America may see is with the open borders, a lot more stuff happening inside the country than they've ever witnessed before.
I would agree with that. We're starting to see a lot of that stuff, unfortunately. It's just the tip of the iceberg. So sad. So the big thing with all of this is basically when you're and it's not just like BSing yourself into believing the mission. It's also when when your upper leadership comes to you with something and says, "Hey, we're going to be going down this path. We're going to be doing this." You also need to start asking them questions. And I'm gonna like I've done this, and one of the things that you have to do to about it is you have to be diplomatic, which Phil is not.
Yes, but I use my sarcasm to cut to the soul of it.
Oh, yes, you do.
Everybody, if they didn't fire me the first week, they love me for who I am,
I hope they do.
right? Otherwise, they have to make that whole list of reasons to fire me, and that's difficult.
God, that is difficult. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I don't want to go down that path. um, Yeah, so like you have to start asking questions. I have learned the hard way where if you ask the question of them saying, okay, why are we doing this? It's like along the lines of like you're angry and frustrated with them. Why the F are we doing this? They're gonna get that. That's going to bring up their defenses immediately.
Unless you have a beer, you could do that with a beer. I guess the whole context is important, right? And he may say, I don't even fucking know. Oh, we just lost our PG.
Dude, were we ever PG?
We were for like 30 seconds on the first episode.
Well, wait. PG, I think, allows one swear word.
Ooh, so we can roll with it. I gotta look that up.
Me too.
Yeah, so it's not okay. Never mind. We don't need to work. Look, existence, the definition of a woman, like all that, I think is out the window now. Um, but yeah, the I think the soul of that answer is exactly right. To go there, push back, but do it with respect, of course, because there's a reason for it. Nobody does change for the sake of change, except for building back better. But that's different.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's true. Like they have your upper management, upper leadership has a reason for why they are doing what they are doing. You may or may not agree with that reason.
You may not like it, and you may have the choice to leave the business.
That's true too. There is always that option, especially in business. In military, not so much.
No, no, you got to suck it up and learn to love it, to believe.
Title. And that's kind of one of those things. Like you got to sit down and start asking those questions and figuring that out, because who know, maybe they haven't actually thought through the reason why they are doing the thing that they are doing. And if you start asking the question, especially in a respectful manner, it might start forcing them to think about it and to either come up with an answer, hopefully, or they say, you know what, you're right, this doesn't make sense, let's go down a different route. Now I will so I will give an example of something that I dealt with a couple of months back. There was this, I was working at a company, or working not at a company, but I was working with a client, and they brought in a new manager, and the manager wanted to change a certain process that we were doing. And this kind of will feed into a later chapter 6, called Simple. Um, he wanted to change the way a process was, and I was kind of just sitting there like, why are we doing this, what's going on? And I just kept asking him, like, why? This doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't understand why you're trying to change it, and I don't understand what you are trying to change it to. I never got a good explanation for it. I never got a satisfying "this is why we are doing it" thing, because I kept pointing out to the manager, being like, look, if we do it this way, there's going to be problems down the road. We're going to run into issues. And lo and behold, we did. I left
Quickly.
well, yeah, I wouldn't say quickly, but we
3 months is.
I would say quickly would be 2 weeks in this context.
Uh, well, yeah, that's same time. Yeah.
3 months was fairly recent from the decision. Anywho, but it got to a point where I was like, you know what? I am not. He's a part of the client. I've voiced my concerns. I've told him I don't like this. I don't think this is right. I just had to end up sucking it up and moving on with it. Eventually, I moved on completely.
Right, right, and that's consequence of poor leadership.
The dude was horrible, absolutely horrendous. Gosh.
See, one of those. I've always been a boss, and I'm a born boss, and I know it because I've always been a boss.
kind of. He's more along the lines of I'm the captain now.
Oh, okay. It's going to be my way or the highway.
That's exactly what he was like. He was. I've got tons of horrible stories with him about this is how you do not be a leader.
Right, this sounds good because everybody likes to have things done their way, but there's sometimes I can't remember which book I was reading recently, but um, you don't start with doing change when you're new in a position. You don't come in and ask for change, especially before you know whose feet you're stepping on. You need to build some relationships before you ask people to change things.
That was a big issue.
Yeah. Yep. And you need to essentially learn what's going on and what's broke about it so that you can sell it. And it's a big mistake. Like he might have been hired to do change, and he says, "I got the support, and I'm going to do it." He might be fired next month because he didn't execute well and didn't get the buy-in.
Oh, I like totally. I hope one day. I hope he gets fired. Eventually, because one of the big things that he was like going on, and we were having conversations about, and with him, or me and him were having conversations, and he just like completely came off as a total and utter asshole to me. And
Worse than me, because I'm pretty rough with you sometimes.
yeah, but see, there's a difference with the way you talk to me and the way he talked to me. Um, there's like part of it is
Soul.
yeah, he didn't have one, you have one. I'm just joking on that one.
2 points for the soul.
But a lot of it goes back to what you were saying. Like you and I have built a relationship over time where like we kind of know each other. Like we know our tendencies, we know how far to push something, we know when we're saying when we're like I know when you are joking and you know when I am.
Hard to do.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what it was at. But this guy, like some of the conversations that we were having, like I had no idea like what was going on or going through him because he never tried to build a relationship with me as far as talking to me about stuff. And so because he never built one, he never built that relationship with me when he tried. And then when he was talking to me, I like went back when I told him at one point, I'm like, dude, I don't feel like you respect me at all because of the way you're talking to me. And he's like, well, then I just said that I respect you, so it must be on you. And I'm like, all right, dude, I'm done.
It's like you're not listening. Yeah, a man doesn't come out and say, "I don't feel respected," ever, right? Unless he's trying to work it out and he's really not feeling this. And, I think if the manly man, the beard and all the facial hair comes out and says it, you know, I'm not talking about, never mind. So, yeah, I was about to take that one down. I'm like, nah. Um, back to my last comment.
Yeah, about that.
um, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if I can say what your specialty was as far as I understood it, but that's a hard one to fill. There's a lot of companies looking for that, and a lot of businesses have funding and lose it because they can't get the the talent for it. So you don't mess with some talent, right? I said that all so sweetly.
But and a lot of it's just it's like, dude, you want me to, and again, like relating this back to this chapter and everything, like you want me to believe in the change that you want to make in the process. Like you want me to believe in it. you gotta show me some respect, okay? Like, you've got to be respectful of my opinion, and you've got to understand that I've been on this project longer than you, and I know the reasons. Like, there are reasons why we ended up on the process that we did, and I know that if we leave this process, we're going to end up going back to where we were a while back, because that's how we were previously, and that's not what we want, and it causes issues. So you've got to respect my opinion and be like, you know what? You understand where things are at. You understand why this process is. You've explained it to me. And seeing, this is the part of it as far as leadership too. Like, when you are coming in, it's not just believing in the mission as set forth by the people above you. It's also coming in as a leader and believing in the people who are below you as a leader, and believing that they understand and they know why they have set up the things the way they have set up. Because a lot of times what you'll run into with companies is, it's like, processes aren't always dictated by the people above, like people in management and stuff. Processes are often very much dictated by the teams, because the teams are the ones who have to actually implement the process and are part of it. So what you're finding nowadays, and seeing a lot with people nowadays, or not people, companies nowadays, when you're setting up processes for the teams end up having a lot of say in the process itself. It may start out where management says, this is the process that we are setting up, but then teams will come in and give feedback and stuff over time, and iterate over the process, and the process will change to accommodate the team. So as a new leader on the team, when you come in, you have to understand and believe in the people below you, and believe that they know what they are talking about, and they know why the process is the way it is. And I know I'm throwing like the words believe and process out a lot. Like, I say that, I do that a lot, as Phil kind of knows. But the whole point is, like, you got to listen to the people below you. You can't just come in and dictate.
This is much more um, sticky. I think I'm not sure if sticky is the right term for this, but processes with specialty teams and with professionals are very sticky. They they evolve slow. They're probably based off of trial and error, science, limits on physical mediums, right? There's a lot of reasons for it. So when you come in, and maybe he could have made that change, or maybe he could have took the soul of what he's trying to achieve and filtered it in a way that had improved your process, right? Maybe he could have. But you have to, there's a certain way you talk with people when you're moving into a new organization. And I think it starts with building trust, building rapport, explaining the process, explaining what the goals are, maybe even having a few sessions of coffees and beers. There's some statistics out there where it says it takes about 50 hours for of interaction between somebody to build a relationship. Um, yeah, Boss Chris Voss says this.
Okay, so that's the next book we're reading.
Yes, love it, love this crazy guys. We're not going light at all, are we? So
I don't care. We're having fun with this.
I'm having so much fun. I'm glad you are. I hope the audience is too.
I'm laughing all the time.
Right? I'm so entertained.
Exactly.
But he says if you do some of the techniques that he does, I'm not trying to sell stuff, but you could do this maybe in 11 hours if you're good at it, right? 7 to 11 hours. Um, but you can't just expect these kind of changes. Now, in the book, they talk about where the executive for sales was changing commission structure, and essentially she wanted to weed out all the, I was about to say losers, all the poor performers.
Eh, you. Eh.
Uh, right. So, and the staff was like, "We're going to lose people," and they finally had to push back and talk to her, and she's like, "I want you to lose some people."
What was so interesting about that discussion was the they never asked her. They never talked to her about it. And they were complaining to Jocko and Leif about it, like about the whole thing. And they just like went to them like, has anybody talked to her about it? And they're like, no.
No, no, they're like, no, she's so smart, and she'll cut our parts off, and it'll be bad,
We don't want to look like idiots.
right? Like they're going to be so emancipated.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I got a really awesome. Or we got. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it. It was funny this week.
Oh boy.
Or it just made me laugh. But anyway, so but yeah. So it took took Jocko and Leif to be like, ask them, like, just come on. and but in, and so then like Jocko and Leif went to her and asked her, and then she went back and she was like, "Yeah, let me explain this to you guys." And then they understood. And seeing going back to like my story, my thing, like the big issue was that the guy never really like explained or tried to get me to understand the reason why he was doing things the way he was doing. Like he never, honestly, personally, he was well, part of it to me is like he was an extremely poor communicator, like just absolutely horrendous with it. Like hence the whole, well, you don't respect, like I don't feel respected. Well, I just told you I respected you, so the problem must be you.
Right? That's enough. My shallow words should be sufficient for you.
Yeah, exactly. My shallow words over text should be sufficient to you. So kind like kind of going back to what you were saying too about the whole 50 hours thing, I will also point out for a lot of people, when you are working at a company, Slack is a huge thing for people. All right, Slack is like a massive communication things for a company, and one of the big things now is companies are becoming so distributed and all that. And but I will tell you straight up, you need to jump on calls with people. Okay? You 100% need to be jumping on calls. And I have a little bit of a gripe. I think people tend to use voice a little bit more when they jump on calls. It cannot be calls. You also need to jump on video calls with people. You need to see their faces. Like I'm almost of the view that, or I am actually of the view that when I'm running a team, everybody should be jumping on a video call more often than not, and everybody should have their cameras on. I don't care. Like I get it. You don't want, like, you're working from home and you don't necessarily want people seeing into your home because it's your private home. But I will be 100% blunt here. I don't give a crap. Okay. You have your home is very your home is messy. Like Phil knows my office is messy. If you've watched the video podcast in the past, you know my office is messy. I don't care. Okay.
There's a dog in there.
And a cat, and you're missing in the cat.
Ellen likes dogs. He's a dog guy. So also, Ellen is a cat person.
No, I'm not a cat person.
So everybody can hate him for some reason.
I'm not a cat person. I just have a cat.
This happened to have this cat and love it, and
I don't know that I love him. Anyway, it's a long story. But like there you next time if I'm ever in charge of a team next time, like those are rules that I'm going to be putting into place. Like you need to be jumping on video calls, and you need to be seeing people's faces, because that is so important. There's such a human connection there about it, and that's what builds that relationship. And when you can build that relationship and everything, especially like with video chatting and all that, that's when you as a leader can start implementing changes and start convincing people to come and see your own view of the change that you want. Like, why are you making the change? Like, helping them understand that. Once they have that relationship with you, once they have that, then it's much easier for you to convince them of your view or influence them to it.
Well, yeah, yeah. Back to the body language thing. When somebody sees your body language, they can see sincerity. Now, they may not believe what you're saying, but they can at least get that physical, emotional connection that maybe they're not communicating well, but they can see you believe in it, and they can convince themselves a little bit easier to try it. But if over text, you're not getting this. There's no way.
Well, and like, I think that's part of part of the difficulty that Jocko had at the beginning of the book. He received it as he received that order or those commands as a memo. He didn't receive them direct. Like, he was not called into his commander's office and sat down, and he didn't sit down with his commander to actually have a conversation with him.
It's like, here's the new policy. Okay, put it. Yep, and seatbelts are the law.
Exactly. There you go. Boom. You got to do this thing, even though it doesn't hurt anybody else. I have an opinion about seatbelt laws.
There it is. I want to tease you about your, your freedom stops about here.
Oh, you can tease me all you want. I don't care.
When I go to play devil's advocate, seatbelts and helmets are going to be one of the things I joke about.
Oh, but see, and then part of the reason why you need to convince the people below you to do things, is also, and this is something kind of like that I think they brought up really nicely, is that okay, well, let's get super controversial here for a moment.
Yes.
There is a reason CEOs and companies make a ton of money. There's a reason that management makes a lot of money. You may not like it. You may rail against it, but there is absolutely a reason for it, and it's very good. And it's because they're the ones who take responsibility. They are the ones who are responsible for when things go to hell in a handbasket. Okay, they so the note that I took is basically that leaders need to accept risk, and when you are a manager, you need to accept the risk that your team might fail at this. What would you call it? At this new initiative, for example, CEOs need to accept the risk that the entire company may fail, and they may lose the board.
Their star performers, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Boy, you're really like buttering me up. So,
well, I wasn't thinking about you, but okay.
There it is.
I was thinking about myself, really.
Oh,
because I am a shining star.
You're a special snowflake.
I have no problem with my ego. I'm such a snowflake. I'm in my safe space right now. You see?
Yeah, it says something like set free.
Set you free.
Set you free.
Set you free. The sunset.
I don't understand it, but okay. So the whole point of that is that like leaders are the ones who are accepting the risk. So if they don't believe in that mission, do you really think that they are going to accept the risks involved? Like, let's take the salespeople, for example. Like, if they did not believe in the reason why that what was her position? I don't remember. Like,
I can't remember. No, but she was like
chief sales officer or something like that.
I think something like that.
Something like that. So like if they did not believe in it, they were not going to be accepting the risks that were involved in lowering their annual compensation. That's like a really poor shoehorned way of putting that, I guess.
Well, no, it was a hard sale. So, I mean, if I remember right, it's the lower performers were going to have their sales cut back, their commissions reduced. Nobody was getting more commissions of anything, right? So there was no sweet spot for the top performers, and they're like, well, seriously, right? Like you're going to give us these new strict standards. The guys are going to be like, what the hell? And they're going to run away to another company because it's competitive. And nobody understood that, or nobody was able to realize because nobody asked her that it was designed to weed out the weak performers so that the good salesmen could keep those customers and not lose them to the poor salesmen.
Well, not just keep those customers, but also get more customers. Like the whole point was to essentially incentivize the top performers to perform even better, to perform like more, and to try and like essentially make it obvious that the poor performers were poor performers. And so because of making that obvious, it was much easier for that company then to either um when those poor performers left voluntarily, it was easier for the company to accept that loss, because it's not like they were that big of a drain on resources, for example, whereas previously they probably were, or they had the hard numbers and the cause to let them go, which is very important in business.
I mean, if their poor performers were, say, 20%, working with 20% of the customer base, and they were losing those customers, right? Somebody who knows how to sell, or has a talent to do that, they suddenly have a larger group of people to work with. They're going to make more sales. They're going to make more money, right? Because they don't have people taking some good leads, right? And losing them. So the company does better overall. The good salespeople do better marginally, but still more successful. And of course, I think they talked about the trickle down value of all of it, saving on computers and saving on expenses and office space, and not having to have a whole infrastructure for a whole stack of losers.
Yep. And it just, in the end, it worked out so well for that company. Like they exploded, essentially, is what happened. And yeah. It's really interesting to think about all that stuff, and to understand that. And all because she thought about that. She did it previously, and then she went, and as soon as somebody asked, Jocko, she went and convinced them to do that. And so then everybody within that company was able to accept the risk of, okay, this is going to cause us some issues. This is going to cause us some pain in the short term, but in the long term, it's going to cause something better. Because when you cannot accept the risk, like anybody within the team, when you as the leader cannot accept the risks of a mission, how are you actually going to be able to do that? Like, how are you actually going to be able to act on the mission? Like, you're not, because you're like, you're afraid, essentially. You're like, you don't want to perform. You don't want to do the mission. You see too many risks. And so you're like, yeah, I don't want to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, you start avoiding the real missions. You'll still go take that hill when you're told to, but these guys weren't just taking the hill, right? They were like putting together ideas to take over the country, right? They were aggressively creating their own missions to go and chase out the bad guys.
But if you don't believe in the mission, it's not just that, yeah, you're going to still go and take the hill. You're just going to take the hill much more cautiously. You're going to move much more carefully, which,
Well, you're going to take one hill, not 100.
yes, exactly. Exactly. So,
And your one hill's like, well, they told me to come here, and I'm here.
yeah.
Right. Don't bother me with that hill, right?
Yeah.
You use your napalm over there.
Oh, back to the napalm.
I had to work it back in.
Oh, it's always a good thing to work in.
Yeah,
Here, we'll work in a little
McDonald's and
napalm today.
napalm, right? Doesn't fit in every conversation. You got to use it when you
Oh,
can.
completely. A little fire here. A little. What was the line from Apocalypse Now? I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Is that the line?
I think that, yeah, something like that. Napalm and cookies.
Excellent movie. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I think I
it's
have
an old one though.
to derail this conversation for a second. I think I have like a handful of favorite directors, and Francis Ford Coppola is definitely one of my favorite directors. Whoo! I love his movies. The other the other one would be Martin Scorsese. I don't. He's good. Jeez, he's good. Kind of annoys me because most of his movies are all about New York, but whatever.
It's okay.
Good acting.
I used to love New York until I discovered Trump, and now I hate it.
Wow, you
Rawr.
dropped the T word.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you got to hate something every other second, otherwise you're boring. Just trying to pick a fight. Um.
I don't really care right now. Anyway, yeah. So to wrap this up, because this might end up being a short, free episode, and we can continue because I think we've hit this. I think we've hit this chapter pretty good.
Yep.
You agree?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a short chapter, and I was looking to the next one, but I'm going to not jump the gun.
Yeah, you can jump a little bit.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Watch it start playing on me. Um, I like the next one. I like the next chapter a little more than I like the Check Dago's next chapter, and I like that better than this one. Um, and almost like it kind of goes in line because sometimes I don't want to kind of push when the leadership comes to me, especially when I was in the military, and is more so like it depends on the leader, right? Some of them had a lot more capital with me, where I would be like, okay, I don't believe in it, but I respect you so much. I know there must be a good reason. Uh, and then there's others where like they wasted all their leadership capital with me, and I'm like, ooh, you better be right, and I'm going to find out if you are, and I'm going to grill the shit out of you because I think you're a loser. But which is harsh to say because I was in a pretty great unit and they were all awesome. So the that said, right, you see how important it is to sell this, even in the military, where you're like, I'm giving you the order, you're doing it. It doesn't work like that. Um, Especially among officers, it doesn't work like that because they have moral obligations, right? So there's when you have freedom, right? It comes at a cost. Sometimes it comes at a cost. Like that one Marine colonel where he spoke up and he got put in jail. Is he still in jail? There's no way.
I don't think so. I think he's out. I think he got separated.
Uh-huh. What enough? Yeah. Anyways, not a fan of the way the government handled that one.
Yeah, no, not at all. To kind of cover a little bit about what Phil was talking about, it goes back to what we were talking about, how leaders need to accept risks and such, and it's leaders are responsible for when things go wrong. When it comes to the military, officers have, as Phil said, moral and ethical obligations to certain things, and very often there comes up for a lot of civilians the whole, well, why don't you disobey orders? Well, you have to sit and you have to weigh the orders very carefully, and officers are the ones who the officers are the ones who accept the responsibility and accept the moral obligations of the orders that either they give or the orders that they obey. The enlisted are they're not always, that responsibility is not always put onto them. Very often what you will see, and as you go and if you are a student of military history, what you will see is when something goes wrong within a unit, when the unit does something horrendous, like just absolutely horrendous, it's the officers who put on the chopping block, and they may not even be the ones who have actually executed the horrendous act. It's maybe the enlisted who did it, but it's the officer who gets put on the chopping block and gets, I don't know what you want, like gets the punishment. And it all goes back to the whole moral and ethical obligations and the accepting of the risk. As an officer, if you become an officer, that's what you are doing. That is quote unquote what separates the officers from the enlisted. Now, with that being said, there are certain circumstances where enlisted members can disobey orders from officers, particularly if they can prove and show that the order that they were going to be given was immoral, illegal, things like that. However, if you are super junior enlisted, like,
Shut up and listen.
yeah, if you're an E1, you shut up and listen. It is so hard to get to throw an E1 out for obeying an order, for obeying a poor order, but it is easy.
Yeah, they go to jail. Anyone that doesn't listen to an order will probably end up in jail,
Yeah, exactly.
military jail. And they should, unless it's a clear violation of humanity. Generally, what is they just don't like it, what they heard, and they're going to raise hell. If a junior enlisted guy is ever in that situation, best thing, as quietly and respectfully as possible, get a hold of a higher NCO on the side, ask him, and he will understand your concerns probably, and talk to you about it. Right? Don't do it in front of the group. Um, yeah, you're going to learn from the hard way what it is to what respect is.
Yep. And so, and it's definitely pull that NCO off to the side, talk to them, because very often what can happen is the NCO can either listen to the junior enlisted and will correct the junior enlisted, or the NCO will go and correct the officer. That's what an NCO does. They're
Yep. And it may already be in process.
Yeah, exactly. NCOs are the go-betweens. I have tremendous respect for NCOs because they are the go-betweens, and because they have to walk a very interesting line. It's very important. So
Yeah, and just keep in mind the experience these guys carry. So
it's very true. That's something that I've learned, or I have learned over the years, is you very much need to sit and respect somebody's experience. It's not necessarily like it's not necessarily that you are respecting rank or respecting position within an organization. It's that you're respecting the experiences that put them there.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes these 50 hours help get you to understanding that. If you are not taking the time to get to know the people up and above you and below you, that's your failure. No matter what rank you are, that's your failure. You need to go in there and to get to know people, build those relationships. I you know, at Dev Slopes where uh, Alan is familiar with, I am terrible at communicating online. I just don't like doing it. But I'm like, I don't want to deal with Facebook. I don't want to deal with LinkedIn. Right? I may do some writing or some videos and stuff, but I hate communicating people in this soulless medium, and I something I got to work on because it's part of the society.
It's definitely something that goes back to what we were discussing earlier about the necessity of these like video calls and stuff like that. Thing that I have observed with companies that have a young population in it, they are very much the quote unquote digital natives that I was not. Um, like I just Phil. I think there's what, like a 10-year difference between us. About.
Can you tell? I got a bit more pepper.
I can't tell. I honestly, I actually think I have more white hair than you. But
Ooh. I'm just happy I still have hair. Um, I'm 44.
okay, yeah, there is about a 10-year. So like just the example, or just to kind of put it in perspective for everything. Neither of us. How do I put this? Neither of us had the internet at a young age. I got like my computer for or my computer. I got my first computer in 1996, and I was almost 10 years old at that point. And I we didn't get on the internet until like a couple years later. So yeah, I was young, but I was not like super young. I saw like a lot of the changes and stuff. And Phil, you were in middle school and high school by the time the internet was starting to become a thing. And the whole point of me bringing that up is like for young companies, young where you have people who are in their early 20s, and it's majority early 20s, like they are very much used to communicating online, very much used to communicating via text and stuff.
You're so nice. I don't think they're used to communicating. I think they're used to reacting. I don't know if they're used to communicating. I think there's a difference.
It's a point. I'm trying to be diplomatic here for reasons. um but they're used to that, so it's much easier for them to do the things that you find that you are hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, exactly. Like there, I'll be blunt, there's a guy at DevSlopes who's in charge of some of the social media stuff, and he is phenomenal at it. Like holy crap, is this guy like, he's amazing at it. Like I could never be that. Like I'm not that type of a person, and part of that is because I didn't, like I would argue I didn't grow up with social media and things like that. Like I'm not a social media person by nature. Like I've tried my hand at it with mixed success. This guy just like ended up exploding different things. Like it's just like holy cow, dude, awesome, good for you. But like that's what he's really good at, and I'm not, you're not, like okay, we have to accept that aspect of ourselves, and that's why we have to work with somebody like him and things like that. So anyway, all right, wrapping this up, about believe, just believe. Yeah,
I want to play Imagine Dragons in the background.
that's what I was thinking. I was thinking that, or I was thinking Disney or something like that, I don't know. Anyway, to sum all of this up, when you are given a directive from your from people above you, and you don't really fully understand what it is, ask them, talk to them about it, get to know them, and talk to them about why they want to change, why they want to change things, why they want to do things, and so that you fully understand it. And once you fully understand it, then it's going to be a bit easier for you to go and enact the directive and enact the mission. When you come in as a leader to a team, talk to your team and get to understand why things are the way they are with the team, and just like fully immerse yourself with them, and so that you can get in with what they were talking about. Does that sum up what we talked about?
Yeah, I think with just the one addition of before you cut somebody's manhood off with the, for a vision that you don't believe in, try to believe in it first. At least play devil's advocate with it, right? And then when you feel like you've really gotten the idea of it, you've talked to them about it, then you can tell them how bad of an idea it is.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
But give them the opportunity to work it out with you.
That's the big one. Give people the opportunity. And when you're giving people the opportunity, please don't do it over text. That is such a bad idea. Don't do it over text. All right, everyone. We are gonna say goodbye to our unpaid people. We enjoy that you listen, and if you want to join and you want to get the unedited, and fully extended, and well, all and enjoy all of Phil's sarcasm.
Unfiltered. Unfiltered is about to come up.
Unfiltered. Come join our locals community. You can find the links and stuff elsewhere, and you can find wherever. Blah blah blah. I'll just fit in an outro that talks about all this later. So, all right, talk to y'all later.
Good talking to you. Ciao.